To be up to date on happenings around you and to make that easy for you, ladies and gentlemen, we present Freshlight, where we bring fresh newspaper headlines to the limelight. Mondays to Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Watch, like, subscribe, and make sure your notification is activated on our YouTube channel. You can also like and comment on our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTV and radio. It's another beautiful Monday morning, the fourth day in the month of September 2023. Not too early or not too late to still wish you a happy new month. And of course, we'll pray that we enjoy more and celebrate more in sound health and in goodness. Welcome to Fresh Light on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, a fresh episode for the week. Definitely on this frequency. My name is Modupe Akinyosoye. Good morning once again. And on Fresh Lights, we take you through different and prominent headlines in our newspapers to keep you updated on what is going on right in the country and even outside the country. So welcome. I've got a couple of newspapers with me this morning. I have the Daily Trust newspaper, I have the These Day newspaper, the Nature newspaper, and of course the Punch newspaper, which we'll be flipping through and perusing this morning. Without further ado, let's kickstart the review segment, and of course we pick up the Daily Trust newspaper to see the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. What we have on the front page, we have on 2022 flooding. Farmers decry exclusion from 1.5 billion naira relief materials. That came with double riders that says we identify beneficiaries through SEMAs. NEMA revealing that. Farmers need flood-resistant seed. Experts also revealing that. So you get the details of that on page 4 in the Daily Trust newspaper. Away from that, also from the front page, military kicks as PSC wants police to lead terrorism war. That you get on page 30 in the Daily Trust. 4 victims of Kaduna mosque attack left behind 61 orphans and widows. The rather sad story on page 7 in the Daily Trust. Experts differ as federal government celebrates 400 days of zero grid collapse. That on page 19 in the Daily Trust. Also from the front page, I want to die a Muslim, ex-traditional worshipper, Al-IyamoyeTv says after embracing Islam. Page 11 captures the details of that very story. Nigeria mulls G20 membership as Tinubu attends summit in India. You also get it on page 5 in the Daily Trust. Father, 2 sons die in Anambra building collapse. The rather sad one on page 7 in the Daily Trust newspaper. And of course, you get to see picture of supporters of Niger's crisis right on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Quickly going through a couple of the stories we have in the Daily Trust newspaper. We'll start with this very story. Okay, let's start with the 2022 flooding. Farmers decry exclusion from 1.5 billion naira relief materials. In the wake of the 2022 flood disasters, peasant farmers have continued to grapple with challenges as many of them in the most affected states say they were denied relief materials by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development had in November, 2022, estimated the total direct economic damage of the flood at $6.68 billion, equivalent to 3 trillion naira. And the ministry also noted that the worst affected states were River State, Taraba, Cross River, Jigawa, Bayelsa, and Delta, with about 944,989 hectares of farmland destroyed. And this was besides the death of 665 citizens and the displacement of over 2 million others. The rest of that you get in the Daily Trust newspaper. With the headline 2022 flooding, farmers decry exclusion from 1.5 billion naira relief materials. Away from that, we also have from The Daily Trust, divisive propaganda, Christian Pilgrims Agency tells politicians. The Executive Secretary, the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, NCPC, Reverend Yakubu Pam, has called on politicians to support the President's administration and shun narratives that may cause division in the country. Pam made the call while addressing journalists in Abuja at the weekend. Speaking on his assessment of Tinubu's administration's first 100 days in office, Reverend Pam also applauded the president for diffusing campaign period tensions by politicians who aroused fears about the persecution of Christians because of Muslim ticket. The rest of that in the Daily Trust. Shun divisive propaganda, Christian Pilgrims Agency tells politicians. And away from that, we also have from the Daily Trust newspaper, experts differ as federal government celebrates 400 days of zero grip collapse. Nigeria's national grip over the past year has recorded stability and improvements from previous experience that has plunged the entire nation into darkness due to perennial infrastructural issues. Although with a pinch of improvement, the power sector since its privatization in 2013 has continued to elude solutions to stabilize the power supply in the country. And the last grid collapse witnessed in the country was in July 2022, and there were 6 more before then within the same calendar year. Experts differ as federal government celebrates 400 days of zero grid collapse. You also get that in the Daily Trust newspaper. And picking a story from the Gateway State, and of course from the Daily Trust. We augmented local government allocations with 33.25 billion naira in 4 years, says Ogun government. Yogo State government has said it augmented council's allocations with 33.25 billion naira in the last 4 years to enable them to meet their obligations. The government maintained that it does not interfere with how local government funds are managed in the state. And also the chief economic advisor to the governor, Dr. Okubadijo, disclosed this to journalists while dispelling the allegation of the suspended chairman of Ijebu East local government area, Wale Adedayo, that the governor has been diverting local government funds. Adedayo had accused Governor Abiodun of withholding the statutory federal allocation due to local government in the state in the last 2 years. We augmented local government allocations with 33.25 billion naira in 4 years on the state government, revealing that from the belly of the Daily Trust newspaper. Quickly, let's move away from the Daily Trust and see what we have. Okay, let's speak up the Nation newspaper. From the front page of the Nation newspaper, we have quite a number of headlines and stories on the front page. We'll start with this. Tinubu snubs NLC strike call, with a rider calling workers out of work premature. We will continue to dialogue with government to ease subsidy pain. You get the details of that on page 5, in page 8, I beg your pardon, in the Nation newspaper. Away from that, illegal miners get 30-day ultimatum to vacate site. That on page 4 in the Nation newspaper. Marketer says why we can't break NMPCL's import monopoly. You get the reasons for that on page 8 in the Nation newspaper. NMA cautions health workers on incessant strikes. That on page 6. Medical story on page 6 in the Nation. Away from that, also from the front page, pupils' performance to determine teachers' promotion in Ondo. Page 7 captures that very story. Tinubu targets global capital in India with a rider president leaves for G20 summit. You get that on page 4 in the Nation newspaper. And also from the front page, flood risk rises in Lagos, Nasarawa, Bayelsa coastal communities. You have that also on page 4 in the Nation newspaper. And Kaduna hires 7,000 vigilantes to battle bandits. That on page 28 in the Nation. 9 killed in Ogun and Osun crashes. That rather sad story on page 28 in the Nation newspaper. And you also get to see a picture of protesters demanding the exit of French troops from Niger territory in Niamey yesterday. And quickly going through the Nation newspaper, let's see a couple of stories we have. And of course, we'll start with this very story from the Nation. TUC snubbing NLC on strike. TUC snubs NLC strike call, with a rider calling workers out of work premature. We will continue to dialogue with government to ease subsidy pain. The senior civil servants will not join the strike called by the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC), which it was learnt yesterday. The senior workers umbrella organization, the Trade Union Congress (TUC), decided at its National Executive Committee (NEC) meeting yesterday in Abuja that it would continue with dialogue with the government to ease the pain of petrol subsidy removal. A senior figure told a correspondent of the Nation. The NLC on Friday announced that workers will go on a 2-day warning strike tomorrow and Wednesday. That's Tuesday and Wednesday. Its president, Joe Ajara, said the decision was taken at its NEC meeting with possibility of a total shutdown after 14 days. CUC snubs NLC strike call. The Nation captures the story. Away from that, Tinubu targets global capital in India. President leaves for G20 summit. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is spearheading a bid to attract global capital and sustainable foreign direct investment in the country's economy with his visit to India, and he leaves today for New Delhi. The president is seeking the collaboration of Indian businessmen and their Nigerian counterparts and will attend the G20 summit, where issues of economic development will also take center stage. Tinubu targets global capital in India. The Nation newspaper captures that story. And also on a warning right here from the Nation, revealing that flood risk rises in Lagos, Nasarawa, Bayelsa coastal communities. Citing increased risk of flooding and its deadly consequences, government of Lagos and Nasarawa yesterday urged those living in their coastal communities to relocate immediately. Some residents in threatened Otuoke community in Ogwea local government area of Bayelsa urged the federal and state government to come to their rescue. The warning was given following the advice from National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), Nigeria Meteorological Services (NIMET), and Nigeria Hydrological Services (NIHSA). The agencies were put on notice by the Foreign Affairs Ministry after a note verbal from Cameroonian government that Lagdo Dam water will be released. Flood risk rises in Lagos, Nasarawa, Bayelsa coastal communities. The rest of that in the Nation newspaper. Away from that, we also have the story from the Nation. 100 days, Tinubu Shetima government proven to be for all Nigerians, with a rider from Jide Babalola, assistant editor, Abuja. The Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Christian Pilgrims Commission, NCPC, Reverend Yakubu Pam, has said one of the major successes of the Bola Tinubu Kashim Shetima administration's first 100 days is in office is a diffusing of electionary period tensions. The cleric said the tensions were created by politicians who falsely claimed the persecution of Christians would begin with the victory of the joint Muslim ticket. The rest of that also in the Nation. 100 days, Tinubu Shetima government proven to be for all Nigerians. Away from that also from the Nation, we have a statement credited to the General Overseer of RCCG that says glorious days of Naira will return soon. Adeboye tells Nigerians. With a rider, RCCG feeds 3,000 worshippers and shares clothes. The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, has said the country's weakening Naira will soon regain its value against the dollar and other international currencies. Adeboye spoke yesterday while ministering during the church's monthly Thanksgiving service with the theme Uncommon Miracles at the RCCG headquarters, the Throne of Grace at Ibute Meta in Lagos. The cleric told the gathering that the value of the Naira some years back, citing an incident between him and his wife when the church was having its convention and there was a paucity of funds. From the Nation, Glorious days of Naira will return soon, Adeboye tells Nigerians. We'll be back on Fresh Lights quickly after this short commercial break. Still stay with us on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, and it's still Fresh Light on this frequency.
Thousands have been disappointed severally in their bid to seek greener pasture abroad. To those quack in the traveling agency business, it is a rocket science. That is not our case at Tausaf Travels and Tour. We have in-depth details on how to successfully, without stress, help you process and secure your visa to anywhere in the world. Do you want permanent residential visa, visiting and tourism visa, student visa to places like Europe, America, Asia, Africa? It's no big deal to us at Tausaf Travels and Tour. Our years of experience and expertise speaks volume for us. Let's process and secure visa for you to UK, USA, and Canada within a twinkle of an eye. We offer Hajj and Umrah services to our Muslim faithfuls. What are you waiting for? Consult us at number 9 Tausaf Central Mosque, Sholanke Street, behind Laroy Hotel, Abiola Way, Abeokuta. 0802 733 0900 or 0806 578 4060. Stop wasting money. Pay for peace of mind. Talk to Tausaf Travels and Tour.
Gbogbo aláfẹ́ tó gbayì tó fẹ́ wọṣọ yìí ṣoge tó pàgbàmù ló ń kọjá lọ sí House of Zayana. House of Zayana, the name I know when we talk of top-notch fashion, quality materials and class. House of Zayana, lẹ́tí máa rójúlówó Turkey wears, Egypt and Malaysia clothing, Dubai, àwọn designer bags lóríṣiríṣi, àwọn ìtẹ̀lẹ̀ bàtà tó jiná tí wọ́n fawọ́ original ṣe, àwọn aago kájọ́ tó ń ka wákàtí ọjọ́, designer sunglasses and perfumes, pẹ̀lú àwọn gbogbo nǹkan tóbìnrin àsìkò fi ń gbafẹ́ lò gbà. Mo débẹ̀ ojú mi ń ṣe kámi, èmi ni ó rà, èmi ni ó mú. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin mùsùlùmí ẹlẹ́sìn tẹ́ gbòógè gbọ́n pa fashion tẹ́ wá nílò jàlábíà, hijab àti àbáyà lóríṣiríṣi. House of Zayana lẹ́ò ti rí gbogbo ẹ̀ rà. House of Zayana wà ní 52 Ọlọ́run ṣògo road adjacent Redeemed Church Agape Parish Ọlọ́run ṣògo Abẹ́òkúta. Lórí Instagram House of Zayana 08165688618. House of Zayana, ilé ìtajà tá a ti ń tojúlówó aṣọ àti nǹkan aṣaralóge tí ń gbéni níyì.
Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Thank you so much for always trusting all of our programs. All right, still with different newspapers this morning. I'll pick up the This Day newspaper to see what we have on the front page of the This Day newspaper. From the front page, we have Buhari saved Nigeria from graft, says Garbashew. And with the writer says his success and fight against corruption unprecedented. You get that in the This Day newspaper, page 5 in the This Day newspaper, and also, page 6, I beg your pardon, in the This Day newspaper. Also from the front page, CBN, federal government recorded $17.18 billion inflows, 1.43 trillion naira fiscal deficit in first quarter. You get that business detail on page 5 in the This Day. Tinubu ministers, industrialists depart for G20 summit today. That on page 5 in the This Day. Away from that, we also have Sanwo-Olu flags of distribution of food items in Lagos. You have that on page 8 in the This Day newspaper. And also you get to see pictures. The picture of the Deputy High Commissioner, UK High Commission, Nigeria, Johnny Baxter, Governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mba, Chief Economist and Vice President, African Development Bank, Professor Kelvin Urama, and the Country Director, World Bank, Shubham Shaburi, during the Enugu State Investment and Economic Growth Stakeholders Roundtable held in Enugu at the weekend. You get to see the picture of them right on the front page of the This Day. And also you also get to see the pictures of Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello, his Niger State counterpart Mohammed Bagu, and Kogi State APC Deputy Governorship candidate Also, APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, Kogi State APC governorship candidate Usman Ododo, Ogun State Governor and National Campaign Council for Kogi State gubernatorial election. You get to see that's Prince Dapo Abiodun, Lagos State Governor as well, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his Kwara State counterpart, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, at the inauguration of the Kogi State National Gubernatorial Campaign Council in Lokoja on Saturday. You get to see the pictures of them right on the front page of the These Day newspaper. And quickly going through the These Day newspaper, we'll start with Tinubu ministers, industrialists depart for G20 summit today. With massive and strategic investment drive in focus, President Bola Tinubu departs Abuja today in company with some ministers and industrialists to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi, India, on the special invitation of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The president has also continued to consult widely on the benefits and risks of joining the global economic power bloc. And according to a statement yesterday by the presidential spokesperson, Ajiri Ngelale, those accompanying the president on the trip included 4 members of his cabinet, namely the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, his finance counterpart, Wali Edu, Minister of Education, of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, and that of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka. The statement stated further that while Nigeria's membership of the G20 is desirable, the government has embarked on wide-ranging consultations with a view to ascertaining the benefits and risks of membership. Tinubu ministers and industrialists depart for G20 summit today. The These Day captures that story. And quickly giving you a business report from the These Day, CBN revealing that federal government recorded $17.18 billion inflows, 1.43 trillion naira fiscal deficit in the first quarter. A total of $17.18 billion was attracted into the Nigerian economy in the first quarter of the year 2023, representing an increase of 7.5% compared to $14.62 billion in the preceding quarter. But the federal government fiscal operation resulted in a deficit of 1.43 trillion naira in the review quarter. And this information were contained in the Central Bank of Nigeria's economic report for the first quarter, which provided insight into current developments in the real, fiscal, financial, and external sectors of the Nigerian economy, as well as on global issues of interest. And the report showed that foreign exchange inflow through the CBN increased to $7.17 billion compared to $6.21 billion in the preceding quarter, which inflows through autonomous sources increased to $10.08 billion from $8.41 billion in the fourth quarter. The rest of that in the business pages of the These Day newspaper. And of course, still dishing out some business reports and updates from the These Day as well. External reserves marginally gained $1.87 million in August. In August 2023, Nigeria's external reserves experienced a slight uptick of $1.87 million thanks to the policies implemented by the Central Bank of Nigeria aimed at stabilizing the foreign exchange market. The external reserves, as reported by the CBN, commenced the month of August at $33.95 billion and concluded at the same figure, marking a marginal increase of $1.87 million, 0.005%. And analysts have linked this increase to a combination of factors, including inflows from the diaspora and a steady rise in global oil prices. A cherry news from the These Day, the business page as well. External reserves marginally gained $1.87 million in August. And also from the These Day, let's see what we have. We have a story here says, governors wants president to honor agreement on stamp duties. The 36 state governors are resolved to demand for the payment of stamp duties from President Bola Tinubu's administration in line with the agreement with former President Muhammadu Buhari. And this day has learned, this day gathered from sources close to the Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF, that barring any unforeseen circumstances, the governors will, in their next meeting, make a formal request to President Tinubu's administration for the payment of the stamp duties said to have accumulated to trillions of naira The governors argue that the trillions of naira that have accumulated from the payment of stamp duties would cushion the effect of petrol subsidy removal better than a token being given to the states by the federal government as palliatives. Governors want president to honor agreement on stamp duties. You have that in the Tuesday newspaper. And running it up with the Punch newspaper this morning, let's get to see a couple of headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper. On election petitions, tribunals decide Tinubu 25 governors' cases September. That on page 2 with double riders that says tribunals reserve judgment in Lagos, Sokoto, Kano, others, and parties resort to prayers. APC not under pressure, says legal advisor. Labour Party, PDP confident of victory. You get that on page 2 in the Punch. On Forex, domestic operators lament over 40 aircraft grounded abroad. You get that on page 21 in the Punch. State, NLC and TUC other workers to join nationwide strike. Page 7 captures federal government plans mining firm pushes gold and 6 minerals. You get that on page 26 in the Punch newspaper. Also from the front page, waste managers urge Sanwo-Olu to probe accumulated debt. That on page 26 as well in the Punch newspaper. Marketers get foreign investors backing for 30,000 gas stations. You also have that on page 26 in the Punch newspaper. And also a business headline on the front page says GT Corporation, GT Corporation gross profit to 347 billion naira, an asset now 85 trillion naira. That's on page 23 in the Punch. And of course, you get to see pictures of some prominent persons in the country. That of the first citizen of Nigeria, Tinubu. You get to see a picture of Atiku. You get to see a picture of Abiodun. That's Dapo Abiodun. You get to see the picture of Obrere Wori, Omoagege also, Sule Iba, and also you get to see the picture of Adebutu right on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Quickly taking you through a couple of stories from the Punch. Let's start with this very story right here on election petitions. Now, this report says tribunals decide Tinubu and 25 governors' cases September. And there is anxiety as President Bola Tinubu and 25 state governors await the verdict of the tribunals handling the presidential, governorship, National Assembly, and State Assembly election petitions. The panels are expected to deliver their judgments this month. Out of the 28 states where the governorship elections were held, the results of the polls announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission are being contested in no fewer than 25 states. And most of the tribunals, which were sitting in Lagos, Sokoto, Delta, Kano, and 21 other states, as well as Abuja, had reserved their judgments after the parties concluded their hearings and adopted their written addresses in line with the practice direction for the election petitions issued by the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongba-Mason. And however, political parties and the candidates who were apprehensive about the outcome of their petitions resorted to prayers, and others issued cautionary words and admonitions to the justices to do what is right. On election petitions, you get to see that very story in the Punch. Tribunals decide Tinubu and 25 governors' cases September. Away from that, we also have we also have from the Metro page of the Punch. Fraudster hunts Islamic cleric with soldiers after failed prayers. A man identified simply as Amzad was cried out after suspected soldiers allegedly invaded his block factory located at Bankole Estate, Magboro, in the Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State, and seized his Toyota RAV4 vehicle. Amzad, who spoke with Punch Metro on Saturday, said the soldiers, numbering up to 5 in a pickup van, were looking for his younger brother, Suleiman, who is an Islamic cleric. He noted that the matter began after he introduced the yet-to-be-identified suspected Yahoo boy, who is a brother to his girlfriend, to Suleiman, for special prayers. He said after the prayer was successful, his girlfriend's brother wanted more special prayers, and Suleiman introduced him to another yet-to-be-identified Islamic cleric in the Agege area of Lagos. And Amzad said Okay, you get the details of that on what Amzat said and all of that in the Punch newspaper, the Metro page, of course, with the headline Fraudster hunts Islamic cleric with soldiers after failed prayers. And also, given this business report from the Punch, marketers get foreign investors backing for 30,000 gas stations. Oil marketers on Sunday confirmed that they have received the nod of domestic and international financiers to develop about 30,000 gas stations nationwide. It was also gathered that many of the stations were currently being converted to start dispersing gas following the decision of the federal government to deploy about 11,000 vehicles to run on compressed natural gas as part of plans to cushion the removal of fuel subsidy. Marketers get foreign investors backing for 30,000 gas stations. The Punch captures that very story quickly. And also running it up with this very sports story from the Punch newspaper. Jordan Oban Boniface invited for Eagles Sao Tome clash ahead of the final game of the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifiers on Sunday, September 10 against Sao Tome and Principe. Super Eagles head coach Jose Pesero has handed first international call-up to Ghent duo Gift Urban and Jordan Torunariga, as well as Bundesliga new star Victor Boniface. A Punch Sport Extra report. And Nigeria faced the Falcons and True Pirates in the match day 6 of the AFCON qualifiers at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja on Sunday. And Oban has enjoyed a bright start to the new season, scoring 6 goals and 9 appearances for his Belgian club, Gent, while his club teammates, Torunariga, who plays as a centre-back, has been in fine form as well as has scored a goal and registered another assist in 10 games. The rest of that in the sport pages of the Punch. Jordan Urban Boniface invited for Eagles and Sao Tome clash. And from that sports story, we'll take about this morning a Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Thank you so much for always tuning and always watching our programs. Don't forget to follow us on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. And of course, turn on your alarm button to get notification of our programs. Thank you so much once again. I remain Modupe, Akinyosoye. Good morning.